My wife of 12 years was acting strange. She insisted we take separate cars to my company's launch party, a party that would decide the fate of my entire career. I thought she was just being difficult. Then my 10-year-old son turned to me in the car and whispered, "It's a trap, Dad. She set you up." I had no idea that this single moment of betrayal was about to accidentally make me a legend and a millionaire. My wife insisted we drive separately. Then my son said, "It's a trap, Dad. She set you up." We were about halfway to the hotel when Leo's demeanor changed. The excited chatter about the party snacks and the big projector screen faded. He became quiet, his small hands fidgeting with the seatbelt, his eyes fixed on the blur of the city rushing by. In the reflection of the passenger window, I could see his brow was furrowed with a worry far too heavy for a 10-year-old. "Everything okay, buddy?" I asked, keeping my tone light. He didn't answer right away. When he finally spoke, his voice was so small it was almost swallowed by the hum of the engine. "Dad, can I tell you something?" "Of course, Leo. You can tell me anything. You know that." Another long, agonizing pause. Then the words came out in a sudden rush, hitting me with the force of a physical blow. "It's a trap, Dad. She set you up." The world screeched to a halt. I slammed on the brakes, the car lurching as I pulled over to the side of the road. A furious honk from the car behind us barely registered. My heart was a frantic drum against my ribs. I turned to look at my son, really look at him. "Leo, what did you just say?" His eyes, wide and luminous, were filled with a terrifying mixture of fear and guilt. "Mom, she's planning something bad for tonight. I heard her talking on the phone." My name is Ethan, and this is the story of how my life, a life I thought I had built on a foundation of love and hard work, was revealed to be a house of cards. It's a story about betrayal so profound it almost destroyed me, and about a discovery so shocking that changed not just my future but my entire past. It's the story of how I became an accidental millionaire. Not through luck, but because the very plot designed to ruin me became the cornerstone of my success. 12 years ago, I married Isabel. She was, I thought, everything a man could want. She was beautiful, exuded a charm that captivated everyone she met, and came from a family my own parents adored. Our families had been intertwined for years, and when we started dating, it was hailed as a perfect match. I was 25, idealistic, and so profoundly in love with love that I never bothered to look too closely at the person I was giving my life to. Our early years were a picture-perfect montage. I believed we were happy. When our son Leo was born, my world felt complete. I saw myself as a builder, of buildings in my day job as an architect, and of a life for my family in my heart. I poured everything I had into that life. I worked 2 jobs so Isabel could stay home with Leo. When she idly wished for new furniture, I took weekend construction shifts to pay for it. When she dreamed of Hawaii, I meticulously saved for 6 months to make it a reality. I remember one birthday, she mentioned wanting to learn photography. I spent weeks secretly contacting every studio in the city, finally finding one that offered private lessons. I paid for a full year up front, using money we desperately needed for other things, just for the incandescent joy on her face when she opened that gift. Another time, she lamented losing a ring her grandmother had left her. I spent 3 entire weekends on my hands and knees, sifting through every inch of our home, even going through the vacuum cleaner bags. I never found it, but I thought what mattered was that I tried, that I showed her she was worth any effort. I was climbing the corporate ladder, driven by the singular goal of providing for them. Every promotion, every raise was a brick in the fortress of security I was building around my family. 3 years ago, I landed the job I'd been aiming for my entire career, regional manager at a prestigious architectural firm. The salary was life-changing, but the demands were immense. More travel, more late nights. It was then I started nurturing a bigger dream. In the quiet hours after my family was asleep, I began drafting a business plan for my own consulting firm. 18 months ago, armed with our savings and a substantial business loan, I launched Ethan Consulting Solutions. The first year was brutal. I was effectively working 2 full-time jobs, but the sacrifice paid off. My firm exploded. We landed several major contracts, and revenue flowed in faster than I had ever dared to imagine. I thought Isabel would be ecstatic. The financial stress that had been a quiet hum in the background of our lives was finally gone. We could have anything we wanted. But a strange thing happened. The more my business succeeded, the more Isabel retreated. A chasm opened between us, one I was too busy to notice until it was too wide to ignore. Conversations at dinner were replaced by the glow of her phone screen. My excited announcements about new clients were met with a distracted, "That's nice, honey," as her thumbs tapped away. Then came the outings. "I need to clear my head," she'd say, grabbing her purse. At first it was once a week, then 3, then 4. My questions about where she went were met with vague, dismissive answers. The phone calls were the most unnerving. She'd take them in another room, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. If I walked in, the call would end abruptly. "Just my sister," or "My friend Jasmine is having drama again." But her eyes would never meet mine. I was a man who built his life on logic and evidence, and I had none. I told myself I was being paranoid, that the stress of the business was making me see shadows where there were none. 6 months ago, a new character entered our story, her uncle, Marcus. She said they'd recently reconnected and that he was going through a difficult time. I met him at a family barbecue. He was well-dressed, articulate, and seemed perfectly pleasant. I didn't think much of it until I started seeing his car parked in our driveway when I'd returned from business trips. "He's just helping out around the house," Isabel would explain smoothly. "You know my family. We look out for our own." I chose to believe her because the alternative was unthinkable. The breaking point arrived 3 weeks ago, on the morning of my firm's official launch party. This event was everything. It was my chance to secure the major investors who could turn my successful small business into an industry powerhouse. Over breakfast, Isabel was the image of the supportive wife. "I'm so proud of you, Ethan," she said, her smile as bright as I remembered from our first date. But as we were getting ready, she dropped the bombshell. "I think we should drive separately tonight." I stopped, my hands frozen on my tie. "Separately? Why? It's our big night." "I have a few errands," she said, adjusting an earring in the mirror, her eyes avoiding mine. "A quick stop at the store, maybe get my nails touched up. I don't want to make you late." It was a flimsy excuse, and we both knew it. There was an insistent, brittle edge to her voice that didn't match the casual words. "Isabel, please, I want us to arrive together, as a team." She turned to face me, and for a split second I saw a flash of raw irritation in her eyes. It vanished so quickly I wondered if I had imagined it. "Isabel, please," she said, her voice softening into a mask of reason. "Please, I promise I'll be on time. It's better this way. Besides," she added, playing her trump card, "Leo should ride with you. He needs to see his dad in his moment of glory." The way she said it felt manipulative, a subtle twist of the knife, but she was right about one thing. I wanted my son by my side. "Fine," I relented, the word tasting like defeat. "But please, don't be late." "I wouldn't miss it for the world," she said, kissing my cheek. The kiss felt as cold as ice. An hour later, Leo and I were in the car, on our way to the hotel. He was buzzing with excitement in his little suit, a perfect miniature of mine. He was my rock, my reason for everything. And then halfway to the hotel, his chatter stopped. He grew quiet, and he told me the 6 words that would detonate my entire world.
"It's a trap, Dad. She set you up." My world tilted on its axis. What exactly did you hear, Leo?" I asked, my voice strained. He looked down at his hands, his voice barely a whisper. "I was supposed to be asleep. I went to get water, and I heard her in the kitchen. She was on the phone with Uncle Marcus." He took a shaky breath. "But she wasn't talking to him like an uncle. She was She was talking to him like she used to talk to you, a long time ago, like she loves him. Each word was a nail hammered into my heart. My chest felt tight, a band of pressure squeezing the air from my lungs. I forced myself to stay calm for Leo's sake. What else, buddy? What else did you hear? She was talking about tonight, about the party. He was struggling to remember the words. She said, by the time he gets to the party, it'll all be over. I've sent you the forged records. Make sure you play it on the big projector so his investors see it. His voice trailed off. What are forged documents, Dad? Forged documents. The projector. My investors? It wasn't just a betrayal of our marriage. It was a calculated, vicious attack on my life's work. Leo, this is very important, I said, my mind racing, connecting the dots. The secret phone calls, the late-night computer use, her vague questions about my business operations. How many times have you seen Uncle Marcus at our house? Lots of times, he said, looking ashamed. He comes over when you're away on trips. Mom told me not to tell you. She said you'd be jealous of her having a friend, but they don't act like friends. They act like you and Mom used to. The picture was now in sickeningly sharp focus. My wife and her supposed uncle, her lover, a meticulously planned conspiracy to destroy me. Leo, are you mad at me for telling? I immediately pulled him into a fierce hug, burying my face in his hair. No, buddy. No, I am not mad at you. I am so proud of you. You did the bravest thing imaginable. You might have just saved us. But as I comforted him, my mind was a whirlwind of cold, hard strategy. This wasn't the time for grief. This was a time for war. I pulled out my phone and dialed David, my business partner and closest friend. Ethan, on your way? The investors are starting to arrive. David, listen to me very carefully. I need you to go to the presentation laptop right now. Has anyone else had access to it? What are you talking about? It's been locked in the office. Ethan, what's going on? You're scaring me. I think someone is planning to sabotage tonight's presentation. I need you to double-check every single file. Look for anything that wasn't there this morning. Anything at all. Okay, I'm on it. What's this about? I'll explain when I get there. Just check it. And David, if Isabel shows up before me, do not, under any circumstances, let her near that laptop or any of the equipment. I hung up and looked at my son. His innocent revelation had armed me. The ambush was foiled. Now it was time to set my own. We're still going to the party, buddy, but I need you to stay right next to me tonight, no matter what happens. He nodded, his small face a mask of solemn determination. He was no longer just my son. He was my co-conspirator, my partner in this silent battle. As we drove the rest of the way, the full, horrifying scope of their plan crystallized. They weren't just trying to humiliate me. They were trying to professionally execute me. To present fabricated evidence that I was a fraud, a thief, embezzling money from my own clients. In a room full of the most influential people in my industry, they were going to turn my crowning achievement into my public execution. But why? The affair was one thing, but this was scorched earth warfare. Was it greed? Did they plan to take over the company after I was ruined? Or was it something darker? A deep-seated resentment of my success, a sociopathic need to tear down what I had built? The questions burned, but the answers would have to wait. The hotel ballroom was glittering. I could see them through the large windows. My potential investors, my future partners, all mingling, laughing, completely unaware of the drama about to unfold. The sight made my stomach churn. These were the people whose trust I had spent years earning. David met me at the entrance, his face grim and pale. "You were right," he said quietly, pulling me aside. "We have a huge problem. I found a hidden folder on the presentation drive. It's full of forged financial records, bank statements, client invoices, all of it. They're designed to make it look like you've been siphoning hundreds of thousands of dollars into a secret offshore account." My blood ran cold. They're good? They're brilliant, David admitted. Professional-grade forgeries. If someone had projected these during your presentation, Ethan, you'd look like a criminal mind master. It would destroy you. Just then, my son tugged on my sleeve, his eyes wide. Dad, look! There's Uncle Marcus! I looked across the crowded room and saw him. He was standing near the bar, dressed in an expensive suit, holding a glass of champagne and chatting amiably with several of my most important potential investors. He looked completely at home. A wolf in sheep's clothing. As I watched, he checked his watch and glanced impatiently towards the entrance. He was waiting for his co-conspirator. He was waiting for my wife. This was their stage. They had set the scene, gathered the audience, and were just waiting for the final act. They had made one fatal error. They had underestimated my son. David, I said, my voice steady and cold, I need you to make a call. Detective Miller, Financial Crimes Unit. We worked with him on the K-Tech case. Tell him we have an active attempt at large-scale fraud and corporate sabotage happening right now. Tell him to get here quietly. Are you sure about this, Ethan? Once the police are involved, I've never been more sure of anything in my life. And one more thing. I need you to rig that projector. I want it set to record everything that happens on this stage tonight. I have a feeling the real presentation is about to begin.
As David walked away to make the call, I knelt down to Leo's level. Buddy, I need you to do something very important for me. I need you to stay with your Uncle David's brother, Mark, tonight. Don't leave his side, no matter what. Can you do that for me? Leo nodded solemnly. Is something bad going to happen to Mom? He asked, his voice small. I smoothed his hair back from his forehead. I don't know, son, but I promise you, no matter what, you are going to be okay. You did the right thing. You are the hero of this story. Always remember that. As if on cue, Isabel made her entrance. She was a vision in a black designer dress, the one I'd bought her for our anniversary. She moved through the room with the practiced grace of a queen, smiling, greeting people, playing her role to perfection. But now, my eyes were open. I saw what I had been blind to for years. I saw the way her eyes scanned the room, instantly locating Marcus. I saw the subtle, triumphant nod they exchanged. I saw the predatory glint in her eyes. She wasn't here to support me. She was here to watch the kill. I watched her drift toward the tech table where the laptop and projector were set up. But David was already there, a loyal sentinel, deflecting her casual inquiries with a polite smile. Detective Miller and his partner arrived 15 minutes later, dressed in plain clothes, blending into the crowd. I gave them a quick, quiet briefing. After a few minutes with the laptop and a portable forensics device, Miller's partner looked up and gave a grim nod. The files were uploaded remotely last night from an IP address registered to your home internet connection, Mr. Collins, he said, but the digital signature shows the original documents were created on a machine using software licensed to a Mr. Marcus Thorne. The digital noose was tightening. They had been sloppy, arrogant. What do you want us to do? Detective Miller asked. I looked across the room at my wife, laughing with one of my potential investors. I said, I want to give my presentation, and I want you to be ready. The next hour was the most surreal of my life. I circulated, shook hands, accepted congratulations on my success, all while my heart hammered against my ribs. At 8 p.m., David took the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Please welcome the founder and visionary behind Ethan Consulting Solutions, my friend, Ethan Collins. I walked to the front of the room. The spotlight felt hot on my face. The giant projector screen behind me was a blank canvas, waiting. I saw Isabel in the front row, her face alight with anticipation. I saw Marcus positioned near the tech table, ready to spring their trap. I began, my voice surprisingly steady. Thank you all for being here. 18 months ago, I had a dream. I clicked through my initial slides, talking about market opportunities, about our mission, but my eyes were locked on them, waiting. The moment came during the financial overview. As I was detailing our legitimate revenue growth, I saw Marcus make his move toward the tech table. "Excuse me," he said, his voice loud enough for those nearby to hear, feigning concern. "I think there might be a technical issue with the presentation. Some rather concerning financial documents just seem to have appeared on the system." This was it, the moment of my execution. But instead of the forged embezzlement records they expected to see, something else flashed onto the screen behind me. It was security camera footage from inside my own home. It showed Isabel and Marcus together, kissing, embracing, their relationship laid bare for the entire world to see. A collective gasp swept through the ballroom. The room fell into a stunned, absolute silence. I turned, feigning shock. What is this?" I asked, my voice ringing out in the quiet room. More footage played. Isabel and Marcus at the kitchen table late at night, hunched over documents that looked suspiciously like my company's financial reports. And then the audio, the crystal-clear recording of the phone call my son had overheard. Isabel's voice filled the silent ballroom. "By the time he gets to the party, it'll all be over. I've sent you the forged records." The room erupted in a storm of murmurs and shocked whispers. I saw investors, my colleagues, my friends, looking back and forth between me, the screen, and my wife, their faces a mixture of confusion and dawning comprehension. Isabel's face had drained of all color. She was staring at the screen in pure horror, then at Marcus, then at me. For the first time, I saw real emotion in her eyes, but it was not remorse. It was the raw, primal panic of a cornered animal. "Ethan," she began, stepping forward, her voice trembling, "I can explain." "Ladies and gentlemen," a calm, authoritative voice cut through the chaos. Detective Miller moved to the front, his badge now visible. "We need everyone to remain calm. We are conducting an arrest related to attempted large-scale fraud and corporate embezzlement." "This is insane!" Marcus blustered, trying to salvage the situation. "I was helping him. I was trying to catch her. She's the criminal." But even as he protested, Detective Miller's partner was reading them both their rights. The evidence was irrefutable. The digital trail, the security footage, the recorded confession. As the police led them away in handcuffs, Isabel looked back at me, her eyes filled with venomous hatred. "You don't understand," she shrieked, her final desperate gambit. "He threatened me. He said he'd hurt Leo if I didn't help him." It was a pathetic, transparent lie. The footage had shown her as a gleeful and willing comparator. No one in that room believed her. After the police left, I stood alone on the stage, in front of a stunned business leaders. My launch party had become a live-action crime drama. I took a deep breath. I sincerely apologize for the disruption," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "As you can see, I've recently discovered that someone very close to me was attempting to sabotage this company and frame me for crimes I did not commit. I want to assure every single person in this room that Ethan Consulting Solutions operates with complete and unwavering integrity." What happened next was the first sign that my life was about to change in a way I could never have predicted. An older, highly respected investor named Monique Jefferson stood up. "Mr. Collins," she said, her voice carrying across the silent room, "frankly, the way you just uncovered, exposed, and neutralized a complex fraud attempt in real time is the single most impressive demonstration of due diligence and crisis management I have ever witnessed. You haven't lost our confidence, you've earned it tenfold." A wave of applause broke out. My business wasn't just saved, it was forged in fire. That night, my wife tried to ruin me, and she accidentally made me a legend.
The story of the launch party takedown became industry folklore. Clients flocked to my firm, not just for architectural consulting, but for risk management and fraud analysis. They saw me as a man who could sniff out betrayal and protect assets, because I had lived it. My reputation, the very thing they tried to destroy, became my most valuable asset. My income didn't just grow, it skyrocketed. I had become, by the most bizarre and painful path imaginable, an accidental millionaire. But the personal cost was immense. The divorce proceedings were brutal. The investigation revealed the full extent of their plan. After ruining me, they were going to disappear with over $200,000 they had already siphoned from the business. In the end, Isabel was sentenced to 5 years for fraud, Marcus to 7. 6 months after the trial, I sold the house that was once my dream and was now a crime scene. I moved with Leo 3 hours away to a quieter city for a fresh start. It was there, in a small, sunlit coffee shop, that I met her. Her name was Chloe. I saw her across the room, and it felt as if the world, which had been gray and muted for so long, had suddenly burst into color. She had warm, intelligent eyes and a smile that seemed to radiate genuine kindness. It was a different feeling than I'd ever had with Isabel. Not the frantic need to build a life, but a quiet, profound pull toward another human soul. I gathered every ounce of courage I had and walked over to her table. "Excuse me," I said. "I couldn't help but notice your book." She looked up, and for a split second, I saw a flash of what looked like recognition. It was immediately replaced by sheer panic. Yes, it is," she said, closing the book and quickly gathering her things. "I'm sorry, I have to go," and she rushed out, leaving a half-full coffee on the table. I was completely bewildered. Weeks went by. I couldn't get her out of my mind. I finally saw her again in the produce section of a grocery store. I approached her gently. "Chloe," I said, softly. She turned, and I saw that same flash of panic. "I'm sorry," I said quickly. I felt a connection the other day. Did I do something wrong?" She seemed to steady herself, taking a deep breath. "You didn't," she said, her voice low. It's complicated." "I'm good with complicated," I smiled. "I'm Ethan, by the way, Ethan Collins." The moment I said my full name, her face drained of all color. "Oh, God," she whispered, her hand flying to her mouth. You really don't remember me, do you?" "Remember you? Have we met?" "Not here," she said, looking around frantically. "Meet me at Riverside Park tomorrow, 2 o'clock, by the big oak tree." Before I could respond, she was gone. The next day, I found her sitting on the bench she'd described. "Thank you for coming," she said nervously. "Please," I said. "I've been going crazy. How do I know you?" She took a long, shaky breath, the words catching in her throat. "My name is Chloe Morrison. We went to the same high school. We didn't really know each other. I was very quiet, but we met again after college at our friend Jasmine's birthday party about 15 years ago." A faint, foggy memory stirred. "We talked for almost an hour that night," she said, her voice getting softer. "About our dreams. You told me you wanted to start your own business. I told you I wanted to be a teacher." Her eyes filled with a sadness that seemed ancient. I fell in love with you that night, Ethan." The admission hung in the air between us. "You asked for my phone number before you left," she continued. "I gave it to you, and I waited for a week for you to call. You never did. 2 weeks later, I saw your engagement announcement to Isabel." A cold, sinking feeling began to creep up my spine. "Chloe, I am so sorry. I honestly have no memory of this. If I had your number, There was a reason you never called, she said, her voice now laced with a bitter. She'd been manipulated, but the evidence was clear. They had been planning this together, motivated by greed and their affair. She'd been manipulated, but the evidence was clear. They had been planning this together, motivated by greed and their affair. Ness, I didn't understand. Isabel made sure of it. What do you mean? 3 days after that party, Isabel showed up at my apartment. I didn't even know how she found me. She told me you had sent her. She said you felt terrible about leading me on, that you were too kind to hurt my feelings yourself, so she asked her to explain that you were already in love with someone else and wouldn't be calling. I felt nauseous. The manipulation, the lies, they started so much earlier than I ever knew. But that's not all, Chloe said, her voice dropping to a whisper. 2 years later, after you were married, she came to me again. This time with a proposition. What kind of proposition? Chloe took a shaky breath, the words catching in her throat. She said you were trying to have a baby, but that she had medical issues. With her eggs, she offered me $10,000 to donate my eggs for an IVF procedure. She said it would be completely anonymous. A gift to a couple who couldn't conceive. The world stopped spinning on its axis. My mind reeled, trying to process the horrifying implication. But it wasn't anonymous, was it? I finally managed to say. No, she whispered. She took me to a shady clinic. I thought I was an anonymous donor. I had no idea she was planning to use my eggs with your genetic material. The air left my lungs. The ground beneath me gave way. Jaden? Tears were now streaming down her face. Yes, she choked out. Jaden is my biological son, Ethan. I am his birth mother.
I stood up, pacing, a storm of disbelief and rage warring inside me. My son. My son who had saved me was also a product of the greatest lie of all. There's more, Chloe said quietly, forcing me to stop and look at her. After she was pregnant, she came to me one last time. She threatened me. She said if I ever tried to contact you or the child, she would use her connections to have me arrested for harassment. And then, she threatened my foster mother, an elderly woman who was the only family I had left. So I took the money and I disappeared. I moved to another state and tried to build a new life, but not a single day went by that I didn't think about him. I came back 6 months ago, after I heard about your divorce. I thought maybe it would finally be safe. I collapsed back onto the bench beside her and, without thinking, took her hand. Chloe, I said, my voice thick with an emotion I couldn't name. I am so sorry. For everything. The weeks that followed were a blur of legal consultations and difficult conversations. A DNA test confirmed what we both knew in our hearts. The story, as incredible as it was true. When I explained it all to Leo, my brave, resilient son, he took it with a maturity that humbled me. She seemed nice, Dad, he said of Chloe. Can I meet her? Our new reality was complex. Legally, Isabel was the gestational mother, but genetically, Chloe and I were his parents. The investigation into the fertility clinic, which had been shut down years prior, revealed the full extent of Isabel's crimes. Chloe didn't want a custody battle. You're his father, Ethan, she said. You raised him. I just want a chance to know him. And as she and Leo slowly, carefully built a relationship, something else began to build between us. The spark I had felt in the coffee shop grew into a steady, brilliant flame. This was real. This was the love I thought I'd had, the love I'd been mourning, but now realized I had never actually experienced until this moment. One evening, I proposed.
not to create a perfect nuclear family, but because I couldn't imagine my life without this kind, resilient, incredible woman who had been a ghost in my story for 15 years. Our happiness, however, was about to trigger one final avalanche. Detective Miller called. The investigation into the fertility clinic had uncovered a much larger criminal enterprise run by Isabel and Marcus. They had been coercing other young, vulnerable women into similar donations, running a black market fertility operation. Another trial. More heartbreak as other victims came forward. Kayla, now my wife, testified with a strength that left the courtroom in awe. Isabel's sentence was extended to 15 years. As I write this, 10 years have passed. Jaden, now Leo, is 22, a brilliant software developer engaged to a wonderful woman. He calls Chloe Mom, and their bond is a testament to the fact that love is about more than biology. Chloe and I were blessed with 3 more children, a noisy, chaotic, wonderful brood. Our house is a home, not a stage. My business, born from the ashes of betrayal, is one of the most respected in the country. My parents, who once pushed me toward a good match, have apologized and are now doting grandparents. Last month, I was notified that Isabel was up for parole. Chloe and I attended the hearing, not to object, but to close the circle. Holding on to anger only hurts us, Chloe had said. Forgiveness is for you, not for them. I told the board that we supported her release if she had truly changed. She was granted parole. She moved away. Our chapter with her is finally, truly over. I learned that the worst thing that happens to you can sometimes lead you to the best thing in your life. The betrayal that was meant to be my ruin became the foundation of my fortune. The lie that created my son also led me back, after 15 years, to his mother, the real love of my life. The family I have today wasn't the one I planned. It's the one I found in the wreckage, the one that was always meant to be. As I finish writing this story, I want to share the lessons I've learned from this journey. Never give up on love. Real love isn't just about finding someone who fits into your life plans or meets your family's expectations. It's about finding someone who sees your heart, challenges you to be better, and chooses you every day. Chloe and I found each other twice. Once as young people who weren't ready for what we could become together, and again as adults who had learned what love actually means. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong in your relationship, don't ignore those feelings. I ignored so many red flags with Isabel because I wanted to believe in the life we were building together. If I had trusted my instincts earlier, I might have saved us all a lot of pain. Children are resilient, but they need truth. Leo weathered the storm of learning about his true parentage and his mother's crimes because we were honest with him and gave him the support he needed to process difficult information. Children can handle truth better than they can handle lies and secrets. Forgiveness is for you, not for them. Forgiving Isabel didn't mean excusing what she did or pretending it didn't matter. It meant choosing to not let her actions continue controlling our lives. Forgiveness freed us to build something beautiful from the ruins of what we had lost. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you leads to the best thing in your life. If Isabel had never betrayed me, I might never have found my way back to Chloe. If we hadn't been forced to confront the truth about Leo's parentage, our son might never have known his biological mother. The pain was real, but so was the joy that came afterward. Today, as I look around at my family, Chloe helping our youngest with homework, our 2 boys playing basketball in the driveway, our oldest daughter calling to tell us about her latest college achievement, Leo and his fiancée planning their wedding, I know that every struggle was worth it to get to this moment. Love is worth fighting for, truth is worth pursuing, and sometimes the family you're meant to have isn't the one you start with, but the one you find along the way. My name is Ethan, and this is my story of betrayal, discovery, and finding my way home to the love that was always meant to be mine.